Unpopular opinion. So Donald Trump wants to send the National Guard into Chicago, Illinois. And of course, he's getting a lot of pushback from the Democratic Party and, other liberals. And I just have one question. What do we have to lose by doing that? I thought it was, the government's position that they wanted our streets safe. I thought they wanted our kids to be able to go to their local parks and play basketball. I thought they wanted our elderly to be able to walk the streets without the fear of being riddled by bullets. I thought that's what we wanted, people. I thought we wanted to be safe. Hey, look, I don't with Trump like that either. But sometimes common sense is common sense. But I guess sometimes it's not common.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We got to talk about it, man. We got to talk about it because you got people from both sides of the aisle that want to see something done in a lot of these crime-ridden cities around the country. I know the president mentioned going out to Chicago. Obviously, he's had some success down in D.C. There's been talks of going to Baltimore, New York City, and a multitude of other places around the country. And for whatever reason, you have a lot of people up in arms about this, and I don't understand why. Because we have two major events coming to our country within the next 3 to 4 years. Next year, we have the World Cup coming, and it's not just going to be isolated in one city. It's actually going to be in a multitude of cities in the country and a multitude of cities in North America in general. It's going to be the largest World Cup event in the history of the daggone event because they've added more countries, they've added more teams to the tournament. And then you got the Olympics coming out to going out to California. I believe that is 2028, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, we want our country to be presented to the world in a positive light. We cannot have people come into our nation getting robbed, getting, unalived, and so many other things. We just can't. We can't have the carjackings. We can't have this. And we're about to have the world come to our nation next year, and then again in another 2 years. This shouldn't even be controversial. We know that places like Chicago, Memphis, St. Louis, Kansas City, we know that these cities, they got issues. There is a running theme as well. These cities are also liberal led. Now, some of them are in red states, and we're going to talk about that a little later in this video here, about the power that governors have in comparison to the type of power that mayors have. But there is a direct correlation is that all of these cities are liberal led. And not only are they liberal led currently, they've been liberal led for a very long time. I got a couple clips to share with you guys. Like, share, subscribe, watch the video all the way through. Turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Let's get into it.
If Black Lives Matter, how come in the past 11 days since President Trump has federalized the DC Metro Police, no black individual has been unalived? I'm going to say that again. How come in the past 11 days, no black person has been unalived in D.C. since President Trump has taken over the D.C. Metro Police? There's a stat that says in the past 7 years in D.C. that black people are 112 times more likely to be unalived than white people. So if Black Lives Matter, the left, Democrats, progressives, how come you all are not celebrating that no black person has been unalived in the past 11 days in D.C. since Trump took over?
And he's absolutely right. And the reason is because black lives don't actually matter to them. Because the truth is, if they mattered, they wouldn't push the pregnancy terminations the way they do. If black lives actually mattered in this nation, they would be celebrating in the streets right now of DC and other places around the country about the fact that there's been a multitude of lives saved in DC. I heard a stat, one, that this is the first week in DC that no homicide had been committed in over 35 years. That's crazy. The other stat that came out was they're used to 1 to 2 homicides happening about every other day. So in this week, think about the people that are still walking, still hanging out with their family, still able to get up and go to work, so forth and so on, because of what the president decided to do in the nation's capital. And yet you have people up in arms about the fact that the president is attempting to do something that none of these mayors have had the cojones to do. And I can't even say cojones because I'm just convinced that a lot of these Democrats, they only care about black people when it comes to voting. They don't actually care about the communities because if they did, they would do something about it. They don't care about their education because if they did, they would do something about it. They choose not to. And no one actually really talks about the root cause of the issues in these communities. Now, there's going to be some people in the comment section and say, hey, white people commit more crimes. There are more white folks in prison, so forth and so on. And that is true. Those are true stats. You're not going to get any pushback from me on that. But when it comes to the homicide rate, black folks lead in that category. And the thing is that a lot of these homicides that happen in these cities, they go unsolved. So the perpetrator gets the opportunity to do it again. There's been situations out in Chicago where you've heard that you have young people out there, 17, 18-year-olds, kill, 8, 9, 10 people. And people don't snitch. And eventually they do get justice, but the streets gives them justice. But that shouldn't be the case. And that's why, I look at, all these quote unquote leaders out there, I give them the side eye because they're not really discussing the root cause. Now, you got some folks out there that will say white supremacy, and I'm going to give them the side eye too. Because the reality of it is we have entirely too many out of wedlock births. We don't have enough fathers in the homes leading these families, rearing and raising their children. That is something that has to change. What we do know is families, communities that have a majority of nuclear families, mom, dad, raising up the children properly, those are considered the safest communities in the country. Why isn't that being pushed? That is something that I would like to see the president do. I know he's written a lot of executive orders. I would like to see an executive order to incentivize people to get married and stay married, have children, and in the confines of a marriage, and raise those children up. I'd like to see that incentivized in some shape, way, form, or fashion. I'd like to see the churches that are out here pimping and pandering for the money. I'd like to see all of these activists, these black activists out there pimping and pandering for the money to actually really start talking about the root cause, the issues that are truly in these communities.
Our children can't walk around the community without fear of being hurt or kidnapped or having a drive-by. So it's what these numbers that they're expressing, we don't feel it in our quality of life.
What Donald Trump proved that it's possible to end black on black crime. He proved that, right? In DC, his troops, no murders for the entire weekend. That is insane.
It's not insane. It's incredible, but it's not insane. It should be the norm, to be honest with you.
Think that the left would protest against that. To think that the left would say, oh my God, it is a bad thing that black people are now stop killing each other. And the reason why that is a bad thing for them is because that is a core of liberalism, right? That is part of what makes them victims. So if you take away each sort of victim mentality peg or pillar, that's one less person that's going to have a victim mentality. So that's one less person that'll be a leftist. That'll be a woke libtard, right? So they are freaking out. What's crazy is the fact that he could actually fix that. And with police, who would have thought? That's why I always say every hood should have one prison in it.
I don't know about every hood needing a prison. I don't know about that. But what I will say is this. They got to get the people, these youngins, they got to get those folks that are out here committing these crimes. They got to go and get them. They got to get the illegal weapons off of the streets. That's got to happen. On the back end of that, we can't just do a 94 crime bill where you lock people up, but there's no programs, one, to help people, work their way back into the community. And also the programs that once they do go and get these folks and they start to clean up the communities, there need to be some programs for the children. There used to be boys and girls clubs, YMCAs, rec centers, so forth and so on. They got to bring those back. The other thing, they got to start teaching people proper etiquette. I'd like to see the churches get in there and start to do their job. Your job isn't to pimp, pander, and just take money. Your job is to be the light of the world and the salt of the earth. To go and share the good news, you know what I'm saying, of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and help these people start to work towards living in accordance to the word of God. And it will help to improve the plight of a lot of these people in a lot of these communities. So does the policing need to happen? Do they need to go and get some of these people that are just so far gone off the street? Absolutely. But on the flip side of that, you got to get some people in there that's trying to teach, you know what I'm saying? Trying to teach and educate the community, you know, and we need to start to incentivize. I hate to say it. We got to start to incentivize people getting married, men stepping up and being fathers. You can't just be out here. And we got to teach the women how to choose properly, because unfortunately, these are cycles. And, you know, mama did it. Daughter's going to do it, and the granddaughter will do it eventually. Somebody's got to break that curse. Somebody's got to break that cycle. There are some things that need to change. So there are things on both ends of the spectrum that needs to be done. It can't just be, we're going to go lock everybody up. That just can't be. There are a lot of people that need to go to jail. But on the flip side of that, how do we keep this from happening again? And there are some things that can be done. You know what I'm saying? Going to get these young people, starting in the elementary schools, middle schools, things of that nature, maybe some of the high schools, we can help them. And really starting to help the parents. Seriously. We got to go there as well, because I get it. There have been people out there that have said, oh man, if he goes in and just locks everybody up, that's not going to solve the problem. I agree with that. That's only one part of the problem or solving the issue. There's another aspect that needs to be discussed and that needs to be worked towards. And I'd like to see some federal money go, you know, into some nonprofits that are going to do the right thing. And these people, they got to be audited, and they need to have somebody looking over their back to make sure that they're not just going to steal the money and not do the right thing with the bread. So I do appreciate this right here, because this cashless bail situation is a mess. So that's one of the things that I think it's got to get done. The thing is that we went from the 94 crime bill over policing, over locking folks up to after George Floyd situation to basically, hey, we're just not going to do anything to you. And there needs to be a happy median there. I'd like to see the president start to have some of those conversations. But first things first, hey, you know what I'm saying? The crime is massive. You know, it's like you've been shot, or you're bleeding profusely. How about we get the tourniquet and let's stop the bleeding first, and then we can start working on some of the other issues. I hope that is something that gets addressed very soon.
Cashless bail, we're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C., and that we have the right to do through federalization. Okay, let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes. No, Illinois, I love that state. It's a great state, but it's run so badly by Pritzker. They threw him out of the family business and he becomes governor. Now he wants to run for president. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, we'll sign right here, right?
Sir.
So important. And this isn't Republican, Democrat. This is, and by the way, most Democrats agree with us. But this is just, we got to bring our country back.
It's really just common sense. So you have Pritzker here, grandstanding. He goes out in Illinois, stands out. I think he's out in Chicago, stands in front of Trump Tower, and gets out there and gaslights everybody like everything's great.
We're very pleased about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is activated and comes here?
Yeah, these people sickening. They really are. Come spend some time in Chicago. Now, I did a video a couple of days ago, and I showed y'all, what's going on in Chicago. Now, they may take them to, the president may go out there, and obviously there's going to be Secret Service. And if he's out there with the governor's going to have a state state troopers, so forth and so on. They'll make sure they'll clear all of that out. No different than what Gavin Newsom did out in San Francisco when the Chinese president came out there, right? They cleared it all out. And soon as it was all the pomp and circumstances was over with, it was right back to the craziness that it was. You know what I'm saying? They think the American people are stupid. They really do.
Murder rate. You can't keep saying violent crime is down, but the murder rate's up. To the average person, the murder rate's about life and death. You don't brag about a rising murder rate. And the Democrats are, I agree with you, Mika, they're falling into the trap of defending what's indefensible.
It's a trap. Yes, it's a trap. I mean, if it's not a winner politically to say, oh, you're wrong, look at the data. Because, if one violent crime happens in a very heavily populated part of the city, people hear about it and it's visceral. They don't want it. And they'll gravitate to the person who appears to be doing something about it.
It's wild. When you have MSDNC out here siding with the president, it's wild. But the reality of it is that Democrats are on, the president said it's 97-3. They're on the other side of every 97-3 issue. But we'll just, for the sake of matters, we'll say they're on the wrong side of every 80-20, 90-10 issue out there. They're on the wrong side of it. And the fact that you have people out there advocating for crime, you know what I'm saying, to continue as is, business as usual, these are people that you just cannot afford to trust. You just can't. And there is a governor, I think his last name is CashApp. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name properly, but he went on MSDNC and, hey, they wasn't expecting this at all.
Governor, look, you understand very clearly what it means when the National Guard comes into your state, what it means when it comes in to a community. Donald Trump essentially said today that, not only was he not happy that he wasn't being thanked for this, he suggested that there are people who want a dictator. He says, I'm not a dictator. I'm being accused of being a dictator. But some people may want someone to come in and take control. So I wonder how you see this and what the options are for governors.
Before he goes, that particular statement that, people out there say they want a dictator, I'm actually starting to believe that is the case. I mean, when you think about New York City, out there with Mondani, you think about, Omar Fada out there in Minneapolis, although I know that they, kind of removed him from that DNC or that Democratic primary position or representative position out there for Minneapolis. There's a lot of people that if a person comes out there talking the right things, giving free stuff, all this socialism stuff, I believe that there are some people out there that would 100% get on board with that individual as a dictator, because there's a lot of people out there looking for something for nothing.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, I have such a different take than what we've just heard. They talk about a manufactured crisis. Have you been in Chicago? Have you been in Baltimore? But my daughter went to school in Chicago. I remember the day she graduated, there were shootings and killings right outside of her building. And in Baltimore, I have friends that go down to Johns Hopkins, get treated for medical conditions. I mean, they are nervous about ever going there. There are parts of Baltimore that he tells me he wouldn't go into. And this is not some right-wing person. This is somebody who wants to be able to go into some of our great cities and be able to be safe. Now, I do think it's important that if you're going to do this, you've got to define the mission. You've got to talk about your authority. And I think one of the earlier guest was saying that, well, maybe there's narrow ways to do it. I agree with that. But that just then says that there are ways to do it. And if I had a crisis in Cleveland, we thought we were going to have riots or in Columbus or whatever, I would never have put, the fact that, well, I'm governor. So I would want to work with other people who wanted to help me. And look, what's been happening in Chicago has been terrible. The crime rate is high. The gang problem is real. I tried to get Arnie Duncan, the former education secretary under Obama, to run for mayor. He's out there trying to work to get, to deal with the gang problem. He didn't want to do it. But I think Chicago is a jewel of America. We just cannot let lawlessness and fear dominate these cities. So, yeah, I think we need to know what the mission is. I think we need to know what the authority is. I think we need to know what the length is. But the idea that these cities are somehow fine, Oh, I think you're
I don't
just,
think
you're
anybody,
whistling.
I mean, listen,
I heard the
take your
word
point.
manufacturing crisis. This is a manufactured crisis. No, it's not. It is a crisis. There are
Go ahead,
people at
Basil. You're
risk in
dying to
these
jump in
cities.
here.
It's definitely a crisis. It's definitely a crisis. Chicago has 250 homicides already. The month of August isn't over with yet. And we still have, 4 more months of the year. And they're at 250, tracking for upwards of, well over, close to 400 homicides this year. What are we talking about? How is that fine? How is that okay? Seriously. And the fact that you have these people on here talking about, oh, this is a manufactured crisis, y'all are out of y'all minds. And I would assume that a lot of these people don't even live in these types of communities, don't live anywhere near these types of communities. But you can get on TV and say, oh, it isn't real, it's fake, it's manufactured, so forth and so on. Yeah, it's manufactured until it's at your doorstep. These people are sickening, man.
He was asked about cities in red states because the governor is so essential when it comes to activating National Guard. And the highest crime blue cities are actually in red states, and those are not among the ones on his apparent target list, it appears. Can you talk a little bit about what you heard him asked and what he answered there?
Yeah, I think you did a great fact check there yourself. So there are indeed a bunch of cities in red states that are high on national crime rate lists, however you slice the data. And the president likes to blame the Democratic mayors of those cities. That's his right. But just looking at the facts, cities like Memphis, Tennessee, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, Houston, Texas, all among the 10 or 15 cities with the highest violent crime rates, all in red states with Republican governors. So who's to blame for that? I think that's subjective and complicated, but it's just not true that there aren't many cities in red states that are high on those terrible lists.
I would assume that it would be easy to work with the governors in the red states. It's going to be easy. The pushback, obviously, is coming from blue states, but I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this real fast because the reality of it is this. When it comes to crime, when it comes to policing, mayors control their cities. Now, I know this dude just got out there and said, oh, man, it's the red states, it's these blue cities and red states. And they act like the governor has the ability to just take over a city. They don't. Mayors control their cities. They run the police departments, they set the budgets, and they shape local policy. But if those policies fail or clash with state law, governors can step in. Governors, yes, they do sit in a part of the hierarchy. They are at the top. They can override city ordinances through state preemption, that they can deploy state patrol or state police, or they can even call up the National Guard without a mayoral's approval if public safety is collapsing. And in some cases, like what happened out in Missouri, the state has even taken direct control of city police departments. But governors aren't all powerful. And that's what people need to understand. The governors are not the end all be all in these daggone states. They're bound by the state constitution and laws that limit when and how they can intervene in the cities. They can't just fire a mayor or micromanage a city. They can't just micromanage city policing day to day. They don't have the ability to do that. Their authority kicks in when local governments fail to uphold public safety or state law. The bottom line is this. Mayors, they set the local agenda. But governors, though constrained by the Constitution and statutes, ultimately, they do have the power to step in when the cities can't or won't protect their people. But you have to get state legislation involved or the state legislators involved. There's a lot of red tape to go through. The governor cannot just take over a city. They don't have the ability to do so. They just don't. And the reality of it is this. When you look at these cities, they just mentioned a few of them, but I'm just going to go through the top 5 most dangerous cities in the country. Memphis, it is in a red state, but Memphis hasn't had a Republican mayor since 1967. We're talking over 50 years. Oakland, California is number 2 on the list as the most dangerous city in the country. They're in a blue state. They haven't had a Republican mayor since 1977. That's over 40 years. St. Louis hasn't had a Republican mayor since 1949. That's over 70 years. Baltimore City, which is in a blue state. St. Louis in Missouri is a red state. It is a red state. St. Louis and Kansas City are both blue cities inside of a red state. I didn't even get the stats on Kansas City, but you look at Baltimore City. They haven't had a Republican mayor since 1967, over 50 years. Alexandria, Louisiana, and I'm sure a lot of you guys don't even know where that is, inside of Louisiana. We know that Louisiana is a red state, but Alexandria, Louisiana is considered the 5th most dangerous city in the country. It's been Democrat ran for 150 years. You'd have to go back to 1872 to find some Republican leadership in that city. The governors don't have the type of pull that CNN or mainstream media wants to make it seem like when it comes to dealing with these cities. They just don't. And they're being disingenuous. And the reality of it is this. The people that live in the cities, they want the help. They should receive the help. They should be safe in their communities. They shouldn't have to feel like they are held hostage in a war zone. They shouldn't, but a lot of them do. A lot of them are like, hey man, I don't go outside at night. I'm in the house before the street lights. They got bars and chains and multiple locks up. And the crazy thing is that a lot of these cities, they have really, really very restrictive gun laws. So a lot of times these people, they can't even get a firearm to protect themselves. This is what we're dealing with. You know, in a lot of these cities and places like, and people like on CNN, very, very disingenuous. Very disingenuous because these people, they know that the governors can't just overstep a mayor. If the governor had the ability to just flat out fire a mayor and just take over the city, yeah, I think a lot of these places would have been cleaned up, but they don't have the ability to do so. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. Link in the description box below. Join us Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for ARP in the morning. Come check us out. If it's your first time, let me know so we can properly welcome you and show you some love in the chat. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
We won't stop. I won't quit. Stand for the truth. No counterfeit. Real ones rise. Let the fake ones split. Repent for the lies. Let the